Good evening. Connection in Florida, but I am trying my third take on this evening. I had a couple of things I wanted to share with you from the readings I've been doing that are important to my Live with Tony audience. And as I was discussing on Monday, John Graham, 2018 USA Memory Champion, was somebody who didn't think that he could improve his memory, but gave it a try, learned what some of the skills were, practiced those skills, entered the competition several times, and eventually became our champ. And I talk about John because just today I had several emails I've responded to from people who are excited about competing in our August 7th virtual USA Memory Championship that is hosted by MIT and sponsored by Lumosity and the Art of Memory. So we have two new sponsors along with the USA Memory Championship or Memory Enterprises. And it's exciting as we're putting this together to see we are bringing some new people to the table that want to see how their memory stacks up against other people practicing memory skills. But what I want to highlight is the event is really noting we should keep on learning new skills of some sort throughout our whole lives because of its importance to our overall brain health. And John Graham certainly makes that point, along with hundreds of other mental athletes that have competed over the years in the USA Memory Championship, which is now going to be in our 22nd year. So it's exciting to see new people become a part of it. And I'm loving the emails and then being able to respond and find out a little bit more about the people and their interest and the excitement that I get from each and every note that I get. So I appreciate those coming, and you can reach me at adottino@aol.com. If you'd like to get in touch with me on a personal level, I love it, so I entertain it. But right now I want to get back to keep on learning. And as I discussed in the Monday broadcast, there was an Investors Business Daily article in the section called Leaders in Success from February 17th, 2020. And in that article, it was written by Adelia Selena Lineker. And Adelia really touched some of the key points about memory, which is, first of all, you can learn new skills throughout your whole life. There doesn't have to be a deadline or a timeline where learning to improve your own memory is kind of expired. And that there's some things and techniques that you can always learn to help improve your ability to encode information, your ability to retain it, and your ability to recall it, as long as your brain is an average human being's brain and you're not being impacted by dementia or Alzheimer's or some form of cognitive impairment. And even with those, I remain optimistic. There are ways and practices that we can follow that can and do make a difference. So I'm an optimist in this, and I think we're learning more and more. And in this article from Investors Business Daily, Michael Dattino, who has designed a course called Maximum Memory Mastery, which is now online. It's called Maximum Memory Mastery, call it M3. He offers to people an opportunity to really learn different ways of names and faces, numbers, cards, lists, reading comprehension, ways of really improving your memory and more importantly, your overall cognitive function and brain health. And in this particular article that was picked up by Adelia in the Investors Business Daily, he offers some of those techniques and mentions. It talks about vivid, emotional-filled, three-dimensional images work best to improve memory. Now let's think about what he's saying. A very clear image. So now picture into your mind an image and make it 3D if you can in your brain, and you can, with emotion attached to it, is a great way of supercharging your memory. So now if I ask you to picture a Christmas tree maybe we want to picture the tree with some light bulbs, lights on it, and some Christmas balls on it, and maybe some tinsel. Uh, See the leaves. Maybe we can smell. Boy, we can smell the pine needles and things. And we create this vivid image. And then we put some joy around that. We think about Christmas celebration when we have the tree and it's lit and presents are under it. And the joy and the happiness that comes to us as we go about what the boxes and presents are wrapped under the tree. That can now help us to retain and recall information about each and every Christmas that we may have had. If we stop and look at the tree and what was unique about it and pick off one of the decorations and maybe a wrapping on a box and what was the toy or the game or the present or the gift that came about it. And we could actually then sync that back by year and we could encode it. So what Michael is suggesting is if you have it a very vivid, three-dimensional, and put some emotion to it, it's amazing what you can do. And what he talks about is as you supercharge your memory, you make funny stories, and that's how a lot of our mental athletes then connect their senses, their imagery, their emotions, and create these stories in key words or things they want to retain or recall. And it's amazing how well they're able to then encode, and when they need to, retain and recall the information that we give to them in a memory competition. Michael goes on to talk about chunking information. Ever notice how phone numbers have hyphens in them? That's because research shows that your brain recalls information that's broken up into pieces, 3 and or 4 digits. So I always remember this when I was thinking of how I learned my first 25 digits. I broke them into threes, and I played a baseball game in my mind. And so I used the first 3 digits to talk about a batting average. And then the next 3 digits was the score, the line I saw for the first 3 innings of the scoreboard. The next 3 digits became runs, hits, and errors that were up on the board. And so I used a baseball game, breaking digits into threes, to talk about my average and my line score for the first 3 innings, and then the overall run, hits, and errors, to remember the first 9 digits. And I said, wow, okay, well, what else can I do with that? Well, let me take another player and our best player of the team and use the next string of numbers and what his average is and how many RBIs that he had and how many home runs and hits does he had. And the next thing I know is I've got 18 numbers, all creating a very vivid story about playing baseball. And I love baseball. And I'm not happy where the Yankees are playing right now, but that's okay. It's fun to partake in this imagery of retaining and recalling numbers. It's a simple technique of creating your own stories. So Michael talks about chunking them. So I used to chunk in threes, and I could get to 25 digits sitting at a dinner with my grandkids and just having fun and retaining, having somebody write digits out on a napkin or on a placemat, and then just who can remember the most. So Michael suggests chunking it. Next, be mindful to improve memory. And this is the message I've been giving out. It's simple to it's so simple to think that you can do this, but boy, paying attention to remember is much more than that. So just paying attention to it is one thing, but it's the voice in your head that's thinking of what to say in response to maybe a conversation that's going about, or a TV program, or some interaction or interruption that's in front of you. And so what he's saying is you need to be present. We're often on automatic pilot, especially with all the different interferences or interactions we have in devices we now have to us. But your brain is not slowing down enough to hear, let it know, to remember. And I've had several of those conversations together today where I was present, but not paying attention to what my other half was saying to me. And as a result, I had to ask her to go back, get present, let her repeat what she said so that I could then encode it and retain it. And in today's society, with so much going on, it seems, as Michael says, so simple, but yet it's not as easy as it is to do it, to stay in those moments, to be present and create focus. I thought that was a fabulous tip that the writer of this article made mention. Now comes one of my favorites. Believe you can improve your memory. For John Graham, improving his memory was not only that he won, it has kept him in check. It's kept him focused on the fact of what he's able to do with his life. The biggest benefit has been confidence, John said. I can walk into a room full of people and I can remember everyone's name and some details about them. That's a big confidence builder. Don't say your memory sucks. Know that you're capable of improving it, given the desire and the skills and the ability or a desire to practice. And we're not asking you to practice hours and hours, but we're asking you to think about 20 minutes 3 times a week. One of our former champions did that and became a champion and wrote the book Moonwalking with Einstein. So those are some of the tips that I at least wanted to share with you that came out of the Investors Business Daily article. And when I get back with you again on Friday, I plan to take another article I was reading that came out of an issue of New Scientist, How to Keep Your Brain Blooming. And so I'm going to pick that up on the Friday broadcast and add to the things that we've talked about here this evening. And just hope my internet connections keep on working and at least let me crash and get back up and running again. But this is my Wednesday evening. I'm excited about the evolution of our USA Memory Championship and where that's going this year, and look forward to hearing from more of you at adottino@aol.com. That's my personal note. And you might want to start looking at the USA Memory Championship website, and that'll keep you up to date with what's going on with our August 7th virtual event that we're having this year with Lumosity in the